wonderful Prairie bitch, Allison Arngrim, and my hashtag imaginary boyfriend, Dean Butler. How are you guys? I'm bringing
Hi,
back
Pamela.
the hashtag.
How are you?
I'm bringing back the hashtag.
Imaginary boyfriend.
And I don't think I ever told you this, Dean, but I was using that hashtag and people started using it and it became like a thing. And then someone contacted me and said, this is incredibly disrespectful to Dean's wife.
Oh,
And like, how dare I do this? And I was like, oh no, it's not, it's a fun.
Yeah,
It's just, it's
You're
funny.
not
It's an
stalking
innocent
him.
childhood thing.
God.
yeah. No,
I know,
I
so-
Catherine's got a very good sense of humor about
She would
all of this.
need to after all
I
Yeah,
these.
love
she,
you,
after,
I
yeah,
adore
she's
you.
not bothered by it. She's bulletproof on this.
I mean, you're not just
Good.
Elmanza, you're Moon Doggy and
Yeah.
Rapunzel's prince. She would
Yeah.
have to find
Yeah,
a way to
she
deal.
rolls her eyes, and
Well,
if
she
they
gets to
only
be
knew,
married to him.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing back.
What was that voice? You want to fight? We'll fight. Is that
That was
what
it.
it
Want
said?
to fight? You'll fight.
Oh, fight! You want to play? We're playing Uncle John.
Yes.
How do you play
Tony
Uncle
with
John?
the sound bites? He's on
Uncle
it.
John is sick of bed. What shall we bring him? Oh my God, you just gave me the worst flashback. Don't do that to me, because then the tape just starts running. It's
Listen,
just like
today is a very special day.
it is flashbacks.
Yes.
Today
It
is a
total
special
flashbacks.
day. Today is your birthday.
Talk about a
Allison,
flashback.
Today is your yay! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
to
you.
you.
Happy
there he
birthday, dear Allison.
Allison.
Happy birthday,
birthday
to
to
you. Do some vertical
Harmony.
ones too.
He's like, get the vertical
Yeah.
shot. This is the second time Dean has sung happy birthday to me today.
Yes.
Because you called me this morning
Oh, that's nice.
from the Rotary.
That's so
From the
sweet.
Rotary. No less. Oh, you bought me cake.
Oh, you can't have that, can you? But you
I
can
can.
look at
It's
it.
soft. It's
Yeah,
squishy. Is it
okay.
squishy?
Yes, it is.
Gum
Yes, it is.
surgery. It's squishy.
Yeah.
Yes, I can do that, as it were.
And there's even a little card with frosting smudged on the envelope.
Then it's a real
That's
card.
nice.
When,
Yeah,
far as I
between
should open
Allison
this
and her
thing.
gum surgery and I had no surgery last
We're
year.
a
Yeah,
mess.
so what
Great,
is
you guys.
that? You said you couldn't. So before we came on, you said you haven't been able to blow your nose in how long?
So I have
Lovely, thank you.
had a very severe deviated septum, which meant that the nasal passages the flow wasn't going through the nasal
The
passages.
flow.
And I've been getting chronic sinus infections for over 20 years, and it was just this year in particular was a really, really bad health year, and I just thought,
Wow.
screw it, we're doing this thing. So
Yeah.
the doctor told me it was a 2-day recovery, and what I have learned is the doctor is a liar. He's a liar.
They didn't mean to deceive
No,
you.
they always
Theoretical
downplay it,
days.
but dear Lord, at least say a week. Like, prepare me for a week. Don't prepare me for 2 days.
Or it was 2 of God's days, as in created the heavens and the earth. It was like that kind of day. Billions of years.
No, right, exactly. What is a day
Yeah.
really? Yes.
What do you mean by
Yes.
day?
exactly.
It could have
In
been anything.
In all of creation,
Yeah.
what is a day? Anyway, so if you're watching this on YouTube and you see me, sort of use a tissue
Yeah.
every now and then, that's why. So
But
I'm
you
not
can
gross, I'm
actually
sick.
blow if you want to.
Sorta, kinda.
Okay,
I mean, it's not
okay.
fully there yet.
Yeah.
Talk to me in another week or two. I'll give you all my nose blowing updates. It'll be
Okay,
riveting.
that's
The
that's
listeners will
that's
just
that's
love
Then
fantastic.
I had fun at the dentist last week, and so hence these cupcakes. I'm going, oh, good, they're nice and soft.
They're
I
very
can
soft.
chew them
Yeah,
on
happy
one
birthday.
side
Have a
of my-
soft mini cupcake.
Yeah, here's soft
So,
food.
no,
Happy
it-
birthday.
Now, and yes, happy birthday. And Allison and I had an experience this week as we get started. We were doing interviews for Cozy TV this
Oh,
week.
yeah,
So how
that's
did
right. I
yours
wanna hear
go?
about it.
Cozy TV is awesome because they have all that stuff. They run Little House and stuff, and they've done really cool things before, like Nellie's Worst Moments. And we love Cozy TV. They're a riot. So we got interviewed in depth. There was a quiz. Did you get the pop quiz, the vocabulary quiz?
Yeah.
There was a test. So they asked great questions, and of course I was like, oh my God, that was the time, blah 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 blah, nattered on. But then they said I said there's a test. Is there math? Oh my God. And I
No,
said,
please, no math.
a
That's my biggest fear as
vocabulary
well.
quiz, and it was like, do you know these words? And I got almost all of them right. I actually
Well,
knew
of
them.
course you did. You're one of the smartest people.
Okay.
Allison is
were
one
they
of flat out one of the
Prairie-related
smartest
words?
people I've ever
The
known.
one I didn't know completely. I sort of know. I said, well, it's a buckboard. And I went, well, it's the wagon. It's wooden. It's flat. It has like the slats. But it's called a buckboard for a very specific reason.
Oh no! See,
and you've driven one, so
yes,
you would
but
know.
I failed. I mean, I didn't answer that question. I could tell them what it was, but I didn't know. I don't know the story of buckboard.
I didn't know why it was a buckboard. I said it is all flat and wooden as opposed to a surrey or a wagon or set.
Sure.
The boards. The buckboard is actually the board, and instead of shocks, there is a flexible actual board that is the bendy thing that is absorbing the shocks. Hence
Wow.
buckboard.
I didn't. Know
I did
that.
not know that
I
until
didn't know
yesterday.
That. Wow.
Thanks,
Wow.
Cozy TV.
So yeah, and now also I just want to let people know that as our event is coming. I
Yes.
was just out at the Rotary this morning. Earlier or late last week, I was out at Big Sky staking the road into Walnut Grove, which is being restored tomorrow with 100 tons of road material that's being brought in and moved around by a tractor tomorrow.
What's road material?
It's
Dirt?
I mean it's a stone. It's a
Rock.
very
Okay.
it's a rock.
Is it gravel like Loose Gravel Productions?
It's
Like,
loose
it's
gravel.
loose gravel.
Yeah, it's loose gravel. So our people taking our Big Sky tour will drive into Walnut Grove on the same road or on the same track of a road that our characters drove into Walnut Grove and walked and rode in and out of town for
Yep.
years. So that's going to be really, really fun.
Yes.
Nice.
Making
Yeah, yeah.
people's
And you
very
called me
fantasies
from the
come
Simi
true.
Valley Rotary this
I did,
morning
this
and
morning.
made them all sing happy birthday
Yes.
to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dean. That's
Yeah,
lovely.
and then tomorrow morning, I'm going to go take pictures as the road is being restored. So we will have pictures of this with the tractor and the big truck and the 100 tons of material, and I just think people are going to be blown away by this.
They're going to go nuts because
Yeah.
because they've been seeing it in their minds all this time.
Yeah.
They've been going, I want to go there. I want to walk on the ground where Laura walked in Romanzo. I want to walk in and then they're going to go, oh man, I'm here and it looks. Okay, yeah, we're putting up the flats because the buildings aren't there. But it looks the same. Nobody went through and cleared
Right.
the trees. Nobody built
Right.
condos. Nobody
Right.
went and tore it up. They didn't flatten the hill.
Right.
It looks exactly. It's the same. The hill with the 3 trees. It's that part. Nothing's changed.
It's
So,
extremely nostalgic, and there's a transition if there ever was one.
That's a great
nostalgia.
If
We
Dean's
were-
good for anything. It's a segue.
We're
So
nostalgia.
Yeah, segue. Yes.
We started
We
as
lived-
a nostalgia. We began as nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, coming up on this episode, we are going to continue to talk about nostalgia, and we have a very
Like
special guest
nostalgia.
for that. And later, this is so exciting, we asked you guys to write into us any questions that you had, and oh
You
my
did.
goodness, you did, and they're amazing. We read them all. I promise you, we read them all. And so we'll be going over some of those questions later. So, from the studios of UB and Go in Burbank, California, visit SeeMeValley.com presents a special event podcast. This is Little House 50 for 50. I'll
Yeah.
never get sick of that music.
Yeah.
I'm just cuddling
No.
up in my calicos right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
never not comment on that music. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're talking about nostalgia, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
for
I
the
mean,
two
our
of
life
you-
is nostalgia.
Yeah.
I mean, we
And we-
live in this state of nostalgia.
We do, and the show it started because I remember some years ago Melissa once said, "Well, I just don't know if I'm ready to become nostalgia yet." And we all looked and went, "But it was nostalgia when it started. It took place in the 1800s. You walked out the door. It was nostalgia. We started there. There isn't becoming. You already were nostalgia. It's like, what do you do?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what Little House represents to so many people is this, perhaps unrealistic view of what this good old days life could be. So when times were simpler, life was simpler, the tasks were simpler as opposed to the complex world we live in today. And it's so interesting. I think it's sort of interesting that we have found all of this technology, this whole podcasting, technology to drill down on a group of people who love nostalgia. So the technology allows us to speak to people who really want to talk about this subject.
There's people on Facebook arguing about the minutia of the 1800s.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
How weird is
I
that?
will say for these Facebook groups, I love them so much, and I'm on a lot of them, so I read up on them. But yeah, there are some Facebook wars going on these Little House groups. It's pretty amazing, actually. They're so passionate about it.
Well, maybe, you know, and our guest today knows something about
He knows.
about social media,
A little.
you know, all of that chatter that goes on. Let's bring him in.
Yes, he is. I will introduce him. Let us welcome to Little House 50 for 50, Walt Peter. Walt Peter is known on TikTok as Pork Chop Pete. I know you've seen him. I've seen him too. He is a proud member of Generation X who creates nostalgia-based content about movies, music, and TV from the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. You can find him on TikTok at porkchop_Pete. Walt, hi.
Hi.
Welcome,
How
welcome, yay! So,
Hi, Pork Chop.
Hi, how are you? This
So
is
how-
great. This is overwhelming and great.
Oh,
aren't you
Oh, my
aren't you
cupcake.
nice?
Overwhelming in a good way.
No, but nice of
good.
you to come. I met you several weeks ago, and I love the story of how you got this name and how you found your way into this world. Tell the Little House 50 for 50 audience how you became Pork Chop Pete and the social media person that you are.
Well, thank you for saying that, Dean. Well, I like many people, I was bored during the pandemic, and I was visiting with my nephews, and they wanted to make TikToks. I didn't know what TikTok was, so my younger nephew Oliver, who's kind of a wise ass, he said, "I bet you can't get 100 followers on TikTok." Sure, let's try. So this is bringing back a lot of memories. I started making random videos. I was dancing, I was lip syncing, I was staging pranks. Nothing was hitting. And then one morning, I'm sitting home watching a Little House rerun on Cozy TV,
Yes.
and it was one of the episodes with Jason Bateman, who, as we all know, played James Cooper, one of the Ingalls' adopted children. In the frontier days, if you were an orphan and you needed a home, the Ingalls would take you in, I guess.
pretty much it. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I said, wow, he got his start on Little House. I bet a lot of people don't know that. So I reached for my phone, I turned it around, and I said, hey, do you know where Jason Bateman from Ozark and Arrested Development got his start? Little House on the Prairie. And then I showed a clip, and then I hit post on TikTok, and I set it aside. I went and took a shower. I came out, and my phone was going
Beep, 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 beep,
Nice.
beep, beep.
so and so liked your comment, so and so liked your video, so and so liked your video. The Jason Bateman, how he got his start on Little House, was my first viral video. It got me my first 100 followers, and here I am today at over 500,000.
Wow, that is crazy.
I think that's
Yet
awesome.
another reason why Jason Bateman needs to come on our show.
Yeah, no,
does, he
exactly.
does.
Well, who watched the
Let
Emmys
it
the
out.
other night?
The Emmys, he gave us the shout out on the Emmys. He knows. He is proud of us.
Yeah.
He does love us.
That
He
was
is
great.
proud of the
That was
Prairie.
great.
He's totally there. So
Yeah.
you met the Bonnet Head Army, basically. They found you.
Yeah.
That was it. You found out about the love of the Prairie that is on TikTok.
Yeah, you know what? I was posting random videos, and they weren't really hitting, and the Jason Bateman one hit.
Boom.
So
Yep.
I said, you know what? Well, they tell you when something hits on social media, try it, duplicate it. So I posted another TikTok video about Little House on the Prairie.
Really?
And then every time I posted a video about Little House, it got a lot of engagement. And I initially thought of just making my page a Little House TikTok page. But I thought that was a little too nichey. I guess.
Well, you
So
know,
I decided
yeah,
nostalgia, 70s, 80s, 90s.
yeah.
And every so often I would do a Little House post.
You know,
which
it's
is
interesting
why I'm
that
here.
that also happened to my friend Raven Stone, who was on TikTok. And,
Raven!
started nothing, and then he started doing Little House content, and he totally blew up.
You see,
The
I
Little House fan base.
I get
is
this because
insane.
remember, we talked about how when the show ended, did you think you'd be talking about Little House? Oh no, when the show first ended, I said, well, we'll move on with our lives and everyone will talk about something else, and then they didn't. And I tried to do many things, and everyone went, yes, but could you tell us more about this whole Nellie Olson Little House thing? And I was like, oh, for heaven's sake! And then I said, fine, can't beat 'em, join 'em. And ever since I started talking about Little House, everything's been fine.
Isn't that
It's really amazing. Well, what do you love about the idea of nostalgia? Why do you think it connects with the audiences so much?
Well, I know why it connects with me. I mean, who didn't love their life when they were a little kid growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s? And Little House to me is like a warm blanket,
Yeah.
I got into Little House because my mother and my sister watched it, and I never wanted to watch it because it's a girls' show. And then I just got hooked on it because I'm sitting there and you can't help but watch what's going on.
Yeah.
Mr. Edwards is getting attacked by a bear, and you can't help but watch. And Nellie's flying down the hill in a wheelchair, and you can't help but watch. And before you knew it, I was addicted to the show.
Something
And
for
I had,
everyone.
Yeah.
Great
something
memories
for- yeah.
watching it.
Yeah.
So
This is the classic story we hear over and over again about the men who watch Little House on the Prairie. That first of all, they don't admit it; they're in the Prairie closet.
Prairie
And
closet.
second of all, they started watching it because their moms did or their sisters did, or they sort of secretly became addicted to it as well. But it's a whole Bonnethead Anonymous type thing.
Well, if you like TV, if you're a fan of good TV, good storytelling, I mean, like Dean went over in my interview with him a couple weeks ago, Michael Landon was great at he told great stories, and you can't help but appreciate and get into those stories that were told on that series.
Yeah.
And not to blow smoke, but actors like Dean and Allison were pretty amazing. They brought those characters to life.
Well,
I mean, who doesn't hate Nellie Olson?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very yes.
That's a big compliment.
Allison loves being hated.
That's the thing. When they say that, it's like when they come to you and go, I love you, you're my secret boyfriend, that means you did it right. They fell in love with you like Laura did.
Yeah.
And if they come up and go, I wanted to punch it through the TV, I'm like, yes, scored. I did it. Thank you. Yeah. Then I know I did it right. That's how we know we did it right. It's That's the thing. And people connect to it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely
that's absolutely. So when people come on with you, and I'm just curious about. I mean, obviously you've spoken. We've had a conversation now. I know Allison.
How do I get on? Can I come on your show?
Allison would love to come.
Well,
on.
that's the thing.
Can I get on the show? I can get on the show.
I approached Dean because he's so damn likable. And I said to Dean, he's like,
But not me, because
You're so hateable.
I said, I'm afraid of Alice.
It's her birthday. Throw her a bone.
Yeah.
You were
No,
afraid.
I love Allison, but she's Nellie Olson. I was intimidated to just reach out and say, hey, will you come on my TikTok and blah blah blah. But Dean's like, no, she
No, I
would
think
love
and I think
My
that's
God,
so
that's
funny,
hysterical.
Walt, that you would see Allison in her performances and glean what you've gleaned. Look, I mean, she was
I
doing
know,
her
I couldn't
job.
separate the real person.
Yeah,
from the
she's
actor.
doing her job, but
Yeah.
Allison is like the welcome wagon. Allison is the Little House welcome wagon. Everybody come in, be a part of it. That's who she is in all of this. So I really think the
And
two
she's
of you
kind
should
and
talk.
she's
should
generous,
call.
and she's the polar
So
opposite
sweet.
of
And
Nellie
I've
Olson,
heard it
which is
before
amazing.
because we do the cherry blossom. I'm going to the cherry blossom again. But the Reverend Nick, he said no, he didn't call me at first. It was finally Mary from the Waltons had to talk him into it because he said, well, I don't know. I mean, because
She's so mean.
He was terrified and had to be
Yeah.
talked into it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Allison, will
Afraid.
you come on my
Fear-
TikTok and talk about
I
the
will
50th
please.
anniversary?
Oh, I will absolutely come on your TikTok. I will
Yay!
talk about the 50th.
Thank you.
And I won't hurt you or kick you in the shins or anything.
Oh, great.
Well, you can't do it. You can't
I'd be
do it
honored.
through the overline anyway.
That's
so
what's so wonderful about podcasts. You can't physically harm people.
she
while
could throw
trying to harm
something
them.
at her screen, but it won't hurt you.
Yeah.
Right. You can just verbally harm someone.
Yeah, emotionally
Just
harm me.
emotionally, yeah.
When you're well, like, who are you having on? I mean, I've said so. If it's 70s, 80s, 90s,
Yes.
who are some of your favorite guests that you've had on? I'm curious.
Well, that's a funny thing you should ask, Dean, because you were my first celebrity that I ever really interviewed for the show.
You're it, man.
I've asked a lot of people,
Wow.
but you were the one that answered back.
Oh,
Isn't that that's amazing. That's amazing because when I hear my social media person Jen Brelier follows you and she said Walt has 500,000 followers. So I'm thinking, well, you're into this mainline world of talking about nostalgia and classic 70s, 80s television. And so I figured, well, you got to be, how are you covering this if you're not talking to people about it? I'm just curious.
Well,
I mean, what do you do? Do you do like clips? Do you do, what do you do?
You mean how do I promote nostalgia in general?
Yeah, exactly. But how do you do it?
This morning I uploaded a video about a 90s movie, Cool Runnings, like where are the actors now? That's a big series on my page. Like I take a show, I did Little House.
Yeah.
Where are the actors now?
Yeah.
People love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I actually was on your page last night, knowing that we were talking. I'd seen you before on TikTok. I'm not a big TikToker, but I have seen you before on TikTok, and I did go down the Where Are They Now rabbit hole on your video.
Yeah. 10 facts about The Sopranos. That's the kind of stuff people like.
I love it.
Oh, that's
the
interesting.
Where Are They Nows, facts you didn't know. Me reviewing an old episode, the darkest episodes of 80s sitcoms. I did a deep dive on the Sylvia episode.
Right? Yeah, he did. He did. I saw that. I saw that one because Little House, as we talked about, we handled a lot of heavy stuff. A lot of serious things happened on the show. Some people died. Terrible things went on. But then it was processed via Little House on the Prairie, which like made it all work.
Well,
so those are the kind of videos I do, and I never really thought about having people on. I always wanted to, but it's just so hard to get a hold of you famous.
He didn't think we'd show up.
Well, yeah. Well,
that's right.
I think that's look, obviously people are engaged with this content. I think it's very cool that you sit down, you extract all this content, you're packaging it in a way that's really fun and interesting, and people are watching it, and it's a kick. I mean, when you do TikTok, it's this constant scroll action, and if something grabs you, you stay, and if it doesn't, you're scrolling on. But it's good for you, Walt.
But the competition is keen because of that. So
incredible.
if they're stopping on his, when I first found out that TikTok was a hotbed of Little House mania, I was shocked because I was like, oh, I put up a thing, and then I went, I want to put some Little House theme behind my little video, and I look up and there's like 50 different Little House themes available on TikTok, and then I start going, hey, wait a minute, and I start looking, and there's all these Little House accounts and Little House this and people talking about Little House. I went on TikTok, and then I call Pamela, and she's like, oh, you don't know about the Little House things going on TikTok, do you? And I'm like, what has happened? But it's huge.
Well, that's because I had connected with Raven and had been hooked up with him because he had been discovered for doing the Little House stuff, and people
I
thought that
watch
he and I
Pork
should
Chop
meet,
Pete.
and then and so it's good
It's
content.
it's
people.
big, and there you go. The different again, the 1800s and TikTok, which is a younger target age than we would. I mean, Facebook is everybody's mom's on Facebook. Okay, we know, and then Instagram's younger, and then TikTok, but they're talking about Little House on TikTok.
I just think that's amazing.
It's incredible.
I think that's amazing. So I was just thinking, we all watched. Well, how big is your audience? 520,000
That's an insane
followers,
number of people.
which is amazing. We were talking about the Emmys the other night. I was struck by the fact, and I thought this was just jumping back for a second to the whole Jason Bateman thing. I thought it was a really quite a good show. I thought it was interesting, and the nostalgia aspect of this year's Emmys I thought was really fun. And then I log in the next morning to just look at what the numbers were, and yet another historically low number for the Emmys. It's like it's on this drop into nothing. Well, nothing. I mean, 4.3 million people watched it.
Nowadays, that's not enough.
4.3 million people, is a very small audience. When I think of what we were doing on Monday nights years ago, I mean, any show.
We had 40 million people watching us. It was 40 million.
Yeah.
I know, because like Roots was bigger. That was like it. But we had 40 million.
A
and
lot of people.
Because there were 3 channels.
Yeah.
And now it
Right.
is weird.
Exactly.
It is weird. I wish it was not so, but for some reason in people's minds, the concept of award shows is not a thing that it was. I mean, people don't watch Miss America. I'm still mad they took the Las Floristas Ball off of TV. That was like my favorite show. I love award shows and Miss America and Las Floristas, and it's not a thing now in 2024.
Yeah,
But it
no,
was so
clearly
refreshing to
it's
hear
not.
Jason Bateman.
But
talk about
Jason
Little
Bateman
House.
talk-
that
It
was
was
lovely.
thrilling.
It was
lovely.
incredible, and he really went on. I mean, they put up
Yeah.
a picture and a thing, and they played the theme. I mean, they walked him out to the theme.
I know. I thought that was
on the
great.
freaking Emmys.
I
Of
thought
course,
that was
did we
great.
get any Emmys? Did we get any Emmys? Do you have an Emmy?
No.
I don't have an Emmy. Does anyone
No.
from Little House on the Prairie have an Emmy?
No, and Michael wasn't into that. Michael was not so
He
interested.
should have had a room
in
full
the-
of bloody Emmys.
in
what
the,
he did.
but he
He
wasn't
really
because
should've.
you have to really campaign for
He
them.
would not do
and
that.
he
No, sir.
wouldn't do that.
He was
now
like-
Michael would campaign for David Rose. He would campaign for Ted Voigtlander.
And aren't Ted and David the only people who got nominated? Even
And-
Melissa
and-
Sue got nominated, but
Yeah.
and he told her you're probably not going to win because we're Little House on the Prairie.
but the technical crafts were honored. On
We
Little
won
House
for like
because it was
hair,
so,
I think.
Yeah, I mean it was because the work was so well done by such great people. But yeah, the acting side of it.
The writing and the directing
yes,
and the
all of that
producing,
was really
Michael
good.
should have had a creative Emmys. But
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but there you are. There you
Yeah.
are. It's weird. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
So the Emmys. This is the
Hence-
first
hence
time
our
they've
street
actually
fight with the
really honored
Waltons.
us.
So
Yes,
so how many shows? I'm curious. So we're talking about doing 50 shows
50.
this year.
Yeah.
So how many videos will you post? Do you think? I mean, if trends being what they are, how many videos are you going to post this year, Walt? I mean, is it hundreds? Is it?
Well, I could do the math very easily and say I try to post at least one every day.
Oh my God!
So
right.
Wow.
definitely 365.
That's
Some
the
days
thing.
I do 2, and there's been when I first started, I tried to do 2 or 3 because they
Well-
say that's how you build your account.
Sure.
Dear
But
God.
now that I'm a TikTok famous now, I only need to do 1 video a day now. So
But see, this is the
But
thing.
that's-
You
that's
had
a full-time
radio,
job.
radio interviews. You
Yeah.
had TV, the podcast. But then TikTok, it's a whole another thing.
Yeah.
We can bang out more podcasts than we would if we were doing like a television interview show. But the guy on TikTok can go, well, I did 5 before noon.
It's
you know.
just
Yeah,
incredible.
but it's still so time intensive. I mean, I'm sure, Walt, this is a full time job for you.
yeah,
now.
it became my full-time job this year because, well, the money was right, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
But
of
I enjoy
course.
it, and you should be doing when you reach 40 and over. I think you should really be doing what you enjoy doing, or
Isn't
you're going to
that
start.
nice,
You're going to go to a dark place.
And
you
there's
know?
that.
Yeah.
Do what you really like. Well, Walt, thank you for doing what you do, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
including us in it. And it's so wonderful to hear that this growth that you've had as this TikToker started with a Little House moment, and that's
Yeah.
really
Thank
cool.
you
They
for
are
being
out
an
there.
male Little House bonnet head.
A man who appreciates the
man.
prairie and admits it in public. Yes.
I'm sorry I didn't wear my bonnet today, but my
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay, Walt.
We'll
It's
get you
okay.
one.
Yeah, it's
Of course I
okay.
have. Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much, Walt.
Thank
we'll
you.
be
Thank
listening
you.
to you, Pork Chop.
Thank you, Dean, Pamela. Happy birthday, Allison, and I will
Thank you.
see you on my show.
You will.
Excellent.
Yes, you will.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Have a great
Bye.
day. Thank you so much.
And we're reading.
Simi Valley, California invites you to see the place where it all began this March at the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary. Discover our stories from presidents to pioneers. Yes, visit iconic locations like the Reagan Library and more. Make your own memories at visitsimivalley.com.
We're so grateful that Simi Valley has stepped in with us, and we're all connected to Simi Valley, reconnected to Simi Valley in a way that's really special as a result of doing this 50th anniversary event with them. I can't say this enough. It's going to be extraordinary. We've sold over 6,100 tickets now
Yes.
for the event,
And the buses, the bus trip
with
is-
65 days to go. We are
really
expecting to see, our tickets should go through 10, 12,
Easily.
13,000, maybe more people, but Every VIP ticket is gone.
The VIP tickets all went first.
They're
People say,
all
"Oh, now
gone.
the VIP tickets, how
Yeah.
much are they?" They went first. They're gone. They're gone. They
gone.
sold them. And then the bus tour. I know some people are saying some of the bus trips up the hill are already sold out.
Oh, totally.
The bus is full. The buses are getting
Totally.
full.
Totally.
Yikes.
So Pam, I know, after our first, well,
Yes.
tell us what we're doing next.
Okay. So
I don't
we
know. I need a
ask
cupcake.
you, listeners, to please email us, ask us questions. This is a perfect Q&A, and any comments that you have or suggestions that you have. And my God, you did, and they're brilliant and wonderful. And also, let me say, we had responses from Norway, Colombia,
Yes.
Argentina, Italy, Canada, Germany, more countries than
We're
that.
huge
it was
in Argentina.
Bananas. Yeah, there are fans everywhere. And I have a few handful that I picked out, and then I have a few of the most common questions that
Okay.
a majority of people ask. So
See,
why don't we start with some of the?
I love
We can do
this.
this rapid fire. The most common.
I love because in my stand-up show we do a question and answer segment.
Sure.
It's the favorite
Yes.
part. It's
and it's perfect because it does answer all of them. So okay, the number one question that virtually everyone wanted to know was, what was Michael Landon like? And Aaron Diergero in particular wanted to know, what did he smell like?
what did he smell like? You know,
I think mainly cigarettes.
Melissa talked about that. That he did. He smelled well. Sounded. It sounds like an ad for men's cologne. He smelled like leather and horses and whiskey and cigarettes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sweat.
And he
Bad
had,
man.
it seems like he had the little spray of Banaka.
Oh yeah, his breath was
You
cool.
know.
He wasn't like gross.
So
yeah.
because he knew he was
actually answering
smoking,
this.
so but he knew he was smoking, so he would spray. But knowing certainly when he was stepping into scenes with people, he would do that.
A
He
lot of
didn't-
people. It
yeah.
was the '70s. So many people smoked, and they all had they all had the little banana in the pocket.
Yeah.
'cause-
Yeah. What did he smell like? Yeah, I mean, he smelled like a rugged man is supposed to smell. I guess.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'd say.
Because they're all out there in scenies,
Yeah.
sweating and with the
Yeah.
horses.
That's
and
the
all,
answer. There
Yeah.
he is. My God, that's the answer we
Yeah,
all
and
wanted to
there
hear.
he is. I mean, there's the rugged
Right.
guy.
He smelled like that. What
Yeah.
do you look at him?
yeah, he smelled like that.
I love that. That was the cornerstone of that answer. Okay, great. Next one. Did you take any mementos from the set?
No, because I didn't know. I left it in year 7. I didn't know that I did wind up coming back year 9. I had no idea that the show was going to end. I didn't know when that I was coming back or if I was coming back, and then I did wind up coming back. It was all very weird. So I wasn't like, oh, I gotta get something because it's over. And in the part of the 70s, I don't know when the idea of pieces of things from sets blew up as memorabilia. Was that like 80s, 90s? It was not as hot. I mean, yes, if you had something from Gone with the Wind or Wizard of Oz, but a TV show, maybe it kept a few scripts. People didn't really say, oh my God, you have a teacup from Little House on the Prairie. People didn't wig out over stuff like they do now, the tiniest little paperclip from a show.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing. Also, our prop men didn't like it when you stole. They would not let you, if you tried to take something, they go, where do you think you're going? And snatch it back out of your hand. So, no, I don't have anything.
When it actually ended, the men's wardrobe person. So when I had my Michael Landon double hat, which was my hat in the last 2 years, I said, "Boy, can I take this?" And he said, "I'm just going to look the other way."
Yeah.
So
That's a
you just go ahead and take this. I'm going to look the other way. So I have. I mean, I didn't take stuff off the set, but so I have the hat. I have a shirt that I wore, a pair of suspenders that I wore that is long since stretched out, but I've got the suspenders, the button suspenders, and I've got a pair of driving gloves.
Oh.
And I mean that's
gloves.
really, and then of course probably 24 scripts that have been in boxes, and all of these things will be on display at the 50th anniversary event in Simi Valley.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
I used to have a million scripts, but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
right. So
I
you
kept
said
giving them away.
bye-bye to them. Yeah, right.
Well, I kept giving them away for charity. People would say, we're having a charity auction for pick a
wow.
charity. And
Yeah.
I go, well, here you go. And I'd sign it and give it to them. And they'd auction. They
right.
raised tons of money. It was great, but I worked my way through.
Right. There you go. So, but you're going to see people will see a bunch of stuff in Simi Valley.
That's so exciting. Okay. Another common question was, what scene in particular was the most challenging for you? Do you have one scene you remember?
What,
Well-
eating ice cream and pickles?
No, that was great. Pickles and ice cream are delicious together. It was a particularly good, really nice kosher dill, like they may have gone to Cantor's to get it. It was awesome. It's a great pickle.
Big dill pickle.
A big dill, and I love dill pickles.
So kosher food.
When I go to Disneyland, they have the dill pickles now. That's the first thing I get. Love my pickles, and they had really good ice cream. And so I had no problem. And then that was the whole thing where I, was sort of challenged because Michael said, well, you can spit it out, of course. I said, oh, no, why would I do that?
Yeah.
But what about when they were putting needles in your toes?
And
Were
you
they
know,
really putting
no,
needles
that
in your toes?
did not hurt because it was Kevin Hagen, who is never going to hurt me. And I'm looking at that foot close up, and I still don't know if that's my foot or somebody else's, but it's like the back of the needle anyway. But he was poking me with the needle in the master, slightly tapping. He didn't hurt me with that needle, but like really stab. It's like the back of the needle. The hardest one was with the stuttering girl was in the music box.
Just because you were so mean.
Because Katie Kurtzman, because I,
Was it
as I
Olga?
said, when I was like first and second grade, I couldn't say the letter F. I went to speech class after school, and I met all the stutters and stammers. So the idea of picking on a stutter was just like, you've got to be kidding. And she was so good. She was so good. Katie Kurtzman, the tears are pouring down her face, and she's going, Peter Piper, I can't hear you. And I'm like, oh, God.
It's so awful.
It was so bad. It was creepy and horrible, and it made me sick to my stomach. So, but then I did it, and it was great. But that was hard. That was hard because that was like disturbing.
Yeah.
That was sadistic and disturbing and unpleasant.
See, for me, it was like being packed in ice, I think. Was,
Oh,
was-
God. How cold were you?
Yeah, but what? It's cold.
Well,
I mean, it was
that's
packed in ice.
actually our next. That's
Oh.
our. actually
Was
our
it
next
real
question.
ice,
So
right?
I'll talk about segue. Here's
Okay.
another segue.
Okay.
This is a question from Diane Parker. My question is about when characters on the show had fevers, all Doc Baker,
Yeah.
and needed an ice bath. Was that real ice?
Were you
also,
in-
what were you wearing under the ice?
Yeah, no. It was real ice.
Oh, God.
And there was nothing special being worn underneath the ice.
Didn't put you in a wetsuit or something to keep you from freezing to death?
No. Because when you have a fever, you're shivery, and this aided in the realism of
No.
being shivery.
No, this would never
Yeah.
fly these days. No.
That would be dangerous, and they would say no.
Yeah, no, but
I
maybe so, but no. And actually, you want that
You weren't
ice
wrapped
when
in
Doc
sheets,
Baker is
you
treating you
weren't
with a
in-
fever, because Doc Baker didn't have a great record of saving people's lives.
It was your best chance. Was the bed of
What are
ice?
you
Was the ice?
Awesome.
Yeah, it was
There
not
were-
Doc
there-
Baker. It was the bed of ice.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they even have
I would say Doc
aspirin
Baker
yet
had very
commercially?
miracle
I know we didn't
survivals.
have anything. Like nothing.
That's great. I remember when I asked you that, when I interviewed you, thinking for sure it was not real ice. There's no way.
no, absolutely real
I
ice.
still cannot believe that was real ice.
Real
That
ice.
It's
was
real mud, real ice.
Oh,
It was all real. Real eggs.
Real cow manure in the mud.
In the mud. People keep
Yeah.
saying, were those real eggs? Was that real mud? Was this real dirt? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We didn't know fake any. It's terrible.
And yet,
Okay, I
I
have
saw.
another question.
Okay, I'm
This-
sorry. It just
No,
makes me
no.
think about this thing about real.
Say it.
There was a question that I saw. Maybe you're going to ask it, and maybe now you
Yeah.
won't. About the church bell. And
bell?
the church
They want to
bell.
know what happened to the church bell.
Well, yeah, what happened to it? I'm not sure. And I called Susan Sukman yesterday, or Susan McCrae yesterday, married to Kent McCrae, to find out if she knew. But the church bell was not a real bell.
Not a real bell, because if
Yeah.
it was a real bell, first of all, that kind of flimsy front of the church probably would have broken and fallen down from the weight of it, because it wasn't like a real building with a foundation. And then the bell would have been so loud, you'd have heard no dialogue. It had like blown out the ears of the soundman. So it was like this sort of fiberglassy paper mache kind of construction.
right.
And when you pulled the cord, it went thub, 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 thub,
And
thub. That was
post
it.
audio put in all
In
So
the
then the sound
studio,
editing.
they put in the
Yeah.
beautiful pealing of a bell.
I don't know if I ever wanted to know the truth about.
There's
the
a bell.
sorry.
There's a
I'm
real bell
Just
in
shattered many dreams.
Walnut
Shattered
Grove.
many hearts.
the real
Okay.
bell that Paul Ingalls contributed to, that helped by the real bell from
Is in
the
Walnut
church
Grove.
from her life is in Walnut Grove. So there's that. But
Yeah.
we got
Okay,
nothing.
I'll
And the
accept
bell,
that for an
it would have.
And still ringing today.
And so if somebody kept the paper mache bell, it would not still be around. It's been 50 years. It would have fallen apart.
Right,
It would have
thanks.
rotted.
Disintegrated.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It was thump,
Okay,
thump,
okay.
thump. Yeah.
Jesse Doherty wrote in, and I love this one because this is another Bonnet Head Anonymous story. My name is Jesse. I'm 28 and live in Franklin, Ohio. My dad was young when the show was on and originally didn't want to watch the show with me because he remembered making fun of it with all of his friends. I asked him to watch the pilot with me, and if he still hated it, then I would watch alone. He cried like a baby for most of the episode and was hooked. Hello, here we go. My question, I heard in an interview once Dean say that Melissa and Allison were mean to him when he first
I don't
started
remember
the show.
saying
awful.
True.
that.
We've both copped to it. We were awful.
Were you really?
we weren't mean, but both Melissa and I were. You know, when people talk about is that a child or is she a 40-year-old midget, what they would used to say, because Melissa and I were very old for our age. We had grown up in Hollywood. We both were in families that were in show business. Dean was a normal person who was going to college and becoming an actor. And you had just done like the one big TV movie you'd done forever. Right. You had not you'd not been working that long. Right. We'd both been working since we were infants.
Yeah.
And so we were used to being on a set in Hollywood and all this, and he was not. And he was this sweet, naive, lovely young man from school who was making notes in his script and being very dutiful, doing everything right.
The mocking of the notes in
We'd
the script
hide his
just, I mean, this is like saying, as an
bad.
actor, your notes in your script are sort of sacred stuff.
Of course.
One of the reasons I have not sold my scripts or made them available is because there are notes in there that I probably don't want anyone to read because they're so inane.
You got
most of the notes, you'd ask yourself the question, how do you play that note? Most of the notes I wrote were unplayable notes.
But that's the thing. And then
funnier.
You have to come and do a reading of them at the 50th when I'll read the fake fan mail.
I've survived the mean. I've survived.
We were snotty to him.
You were snotty,
and thought he
Dean,
was.
were you aware that they were being?
Oh
snotty
yeah,
to you, or you
absolutely.
just,
No,
you
absolutely.
We were just kind of bad, and Melissa played some pranks on him and stuff. We did. You had a birthday where we made a video for him. We all went, "We're sorry."
You did what?
We did. We apologized. There was some video, and Melissa apologized for putting like weird stuff in your dressing room. We were so bad, and we did. We were sorry because we were mean to Alonzo when he first showed up.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. So all right. So yes, the answer to that is yes, they were, but it was survivable.
But very briefly,
Right.
we eventually decided we liked him, and we were not horrible the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Dean, this is from Sienna Honold. I hope I'm saying your name right. Honold. And this is what people want to know. Dean, what was your reaction when Michael Landon or one of the other producers told you that you were marrying a 16-year-old? And wasn't she 15 when you started the show?
Yeah, it was 15 when we started. And I didn't know we've talked about this. I didn't know the books. I didn't know where this was going or how fast it was going. And I certainly didn't know how well known it was that once this character appeared, there would be an audience for this that was very engaged with what was going to happen. And I really didn't know. I think I was so thrilled to be there and I also thought this is a really strong group of creative people. This is going to be handled well. I had great trust and faith that Michael's approach to this would be a good approach that the audience would accept. I think in the wrong hands, this could have been, a real calamity. But
right?
Yeah. Well, Melissa and I have talked about the fact that you could never do this casting today.
Ever.
Yeah.
You would have to get younger, you'd have to get like a 17-year-old guy, like underage, or you'd have to get an older actress. So saying, yeah.
And what's also funny is that growing up from a younger perspective, I always looked at it from her perspective, right? Of saying like, oh my God, she had to do these love scenes, sweet and innocent love scenes, and kiss, very sweet and innocent kiss, almost kissing like, oh God, I have to kiss him now, kissing. But anyway, I digress.
And that's sort of what it was. I mean, you're right in Melissa's head.
She was really young.
Yeah.
She was really young. She was really young,
and she was a young 15-year-old. I agree with you.
Yes,
she was a young 15-year-old.
She was a very innocent girl.
So, I always came at it from her perspective of like, oh God, that must have been so uncomfortable and hard and awkward. And then as I grew up, then I looked at it from your perspective, which was, oh my God, he had to do the kissing and the love scene with the 15-year-old. world. That's insane.
And her mother was on the set. If her mother had not been on the set, I think it might have been easier. I was asked at the Cozy thing, did your parents? I said, that's one thing I can say. I had kissing scenes.
Yeah.
Luke the pig farmer was not a young man. When I was 15 years old, and Luke the pig farmer was like 27 or something.
Wow. Wow.
Steve.
So they did that to you too.
Steve Tracy was 9 years older. I was almost 18 then, but he was 9 years older than me, and the pig farmer was more so. Now, of course, I didn't give a hoot. I was like, oh, yeah, there's a cute guy. I get to kiss the cute guy. Hey, all right.
I always remember Nels, make her a widow.
Exactly.
I love that
But
line.
my parents didn't come down there. And I said, yes, I suppose if my mother had come down to the set and sat next to the camera and watched me kissing some actor, that would have been disturbing.
I think that
But
would've been
my
tough.
parents were like, no, we're not taking time out of our day to watch you kiss some actor. Why would we care?
No. And
We only have-
Pamela,
we only
have
have a couple
Okay.
minutes
Oh,
left.
yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
More.
I'm gonna say this one question because
Okay.
Leah Mitchell asked, and she's so desperate to know the answer.
Yes,
She
yes.
wanted to know the last episode of season 9, Hello and Goodbye. I heard it was a backdoor pilot episode in hopes it would become a spin-off. Was that something you were interested in? Was that even true?
I don't know that that's true. I never heard that. That's the first I've ever heard of that.
Ooh. Okay.
Were spin-offs as big then as they are
Rumors.
now,
Yeah.
and they weren't for Little House? We never had a
I
Little
have
House
no
spin-off.
I have no idea.
I mean, there were rumors of an Olsen's spin-off, but it was not happening. There was no script written. So
Yeah, no,
I just want to say thank you to all of you out there. There were so many questions, and I promise we're going to do more of these.
Oh my
this
God,
is
yes,
so
it's
much
fun.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So stay tuned because we will be doing more and more and more.
Simi Valley, California invites you to the place where it all began this March at the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary. Discover our stories from presidents to pioneers. You can visit iconic locations like the Reagan Library and more. Make your own memories at visitsimivalley.com.
Very well done, Allison, and very nice music cue. Thank you. Thank you. I think we need to say goodbye. This has blown by.
This is whoosh.
I know.
How was
These
that?
go
5
way
minutes?
too
What happened?
quickly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say also, visit us on www.littlehouse50podcast.com.
Yes.
You can get links to everything you need, and we're on all the socials.
T-shirts.
And
We have
Allison
T-shirts.
has her newsletter, and Dean has his book coming up, and lots of events and lots of stuff to keep up with.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you all. For those of you who are listening, the sending in the questions, would love this. It's really fun. I think there's going to be really great stuff to come during this year on this podcast. In Little House World is blowing up in 2024 in a really nice way.
Not literally like the
No,
last
no,
time.
not like we're
like
not
the
ending
set.
it. No,
not
no.
like the last
No.
episode with the set.
No.
Not like that.
No,
No,
it's blowing up in like growing, like a mushroom. It's like, it's growing.
Continue. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll continue on and on.
Anyway, I think we should say goodbye and fly our way out of here. What do you think?
Bye,
Let's do
everybody.
it.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.